Hi, my name is Nirvana Bhandary. I am a feminist writer and a digital activist. I am also the founder of the Project Nepal as well as Nirvana Vibes Kathmandu. So the Project Nepal is a platform for feminist storytelling. It started off as a physical writers collective. So 2019 after I was kind of back in Nepal for a few months, अनि मैले एउटा art exhibition गरी अलिकति यो digital activism space मा अलिकति active हुन थालेपछि I realized first the power of writing is something I've always really believed in because I've been a writer for a very long time. So I thought something to have a physical space where young women can gather, talk about feminism, but also their experiences as women, I know, generally good as well as bad, the things they're struggling with. त्यो सँगै बसेर discuss गरेर kind of inspire and mentor each other to write is a very powerful thing. So this is the reason I started it on a physical collective theo, and then we started a Instagram page, and the Instagram page became something quite big, more than we imagined. So to a group of 7-8 women we decided to open the platform for any woman, any Nepali woman around the world to submit their stories. So stories, poetry, and mainly it is always about personal narratives and what women have been through. And I think the really nice thing is the community is very active and supportive. So whenever women have written about very vulnerable topics such as the passing of their father or body issues, what else? There was like very vulnerable topics. There's been so much outpouring of support. Okay? So comments are so much women being like, thank you for sharing Etauti. And I think that's such a nice thing. So yeah, TOF project. So Nirvana Vibes, which is I think a funny name. When I first named this initiative, I thought it was hilarious. That I started this in September 2021. And that's when I realized how male-dominated spaces for socialization, especially nightlife, bars, clubs, are male-dominated. So I would walk into a room and like it hit me so hard that there was like 80 men and 5 women, I was like, what is happening? And even though it might not be direct harassment, right? No one is being groped or touched or bad comments are being made towards them. The male energy is just so intense. And I could see why so many women would not feel comfortable, right? In that kind of space. I had a few bad experiences as well with men being aggressive towards me. And I was just like, no, this is not okay. So I decided to start Nirvana Vibes to offer spaces exclusively for women, trans, and non-binary people to socialize. So I started off with kind of dance parties, nightlife socialization, and then expanded it into open mics, so creative kind of spaces where women can share poetry, music, comedy, as well as a networking initiative, which is called Women Who Network. And Tiote is focused on professional development for women, mentorship, and that's been really received very well because a lot of women don't have that space. School, university, casual mentorship, or kind of breaking out of that institutionalized mode of you need to finish school, university, get a job. Expand kind of how can my life go, or how can my career grow in the way that I want. I think that's such an important thing because obviously women need to have careers, we need to have financial independence, so that's also a part. And then Nirvana Vibes in 2022 I'm planning to expand it a lot to offer kind of overnight retreats, workshops. And the other thing that I'm very passionate about with this initiative is to support women at every level of what we do. So obviously I'm the founder, but I'm trying to work with women entrepreneurs as much as possible, involve women photographers, so kind of every level to support women-run businesses and artists. So I think social media activism and advocacy is a big part now. I never intended to be, I guess, a feminist activist. Maybe 2015-16 I was writing, sharing travel photos on Instagram, and I started sharing more of my personal stories. So it happened in a natural flow. I never intended to, be in this position I am now. but I think it's very powerful because we can reach so many people and it's very accessible. Okay, so I do write articles and I'm working on a book, you know. The I think is not obviously the bite-sized pieces, and they book porno or like full article lazy but also because I don't know, they just don't have the time, right? Or they're not going to go to a different thing to read that one. So I think Instagram as well as Twitter and other platforms for activism is just so accessible. People can be scrolling their phones, read things at any time. I think the impact of my social media activism has been very great. I never imagined that it would reach so many people and that so many women especially would resonate with it and feel inspired. So yeah, this kind of just naturally became my main platform. And it's been really great because not only am I sharing my perspectives, opinions, and experiences, it's also great for me to share kind of when I offer workshops, opportunities. I know there is a how I find women or how they find out about my workshops that I offer is through Instagram. Events are so yeah, it has become a community of sorts, and I think that's really great. Experiences about it, they again, like saying I never realized how deep my influence goes, especially because I don't have their followers that I've been in so many places, Kathmandu where people come and recognize me. They say, your words have inspired me so much. I resonate so much with what you write. And that's such a nice feeling. Yes, I do think it's elitist, or more, I guess, the side of feminist movement that I'm involved in, because my main platform is digital activism bio. So inherently, of course, I recognize it is elitist because you need to have a smartphone, you need to be able to read in English, right? But feminist movement because we kind of have this narrow thinking of it because social media activism has blown up so much, and that's what we see a lot. We're like, that's why I think to really recognize that that's not all the movement is, and women who are doing such great like grassroots level work outside of Kathmandu, they belong equally to the movement. Okay? So maybe it's about enhancing their stories and perspectives, amplifying their voices. But yeah, I think it's an ongoing struggle about how to make it less upper class and elitist, especially in Nepal. Yeah. Yes, definitely. I have been very much hypersexualized in my activism on Instagram. I think it started off in 2019 when I had an exhibition at Kalo, which is an independent art space. On Itianse, the exhibition was focused on women's bodies and the sexualization of skin. So it was called Sanskari and had a lot of photos of me in different angles. I talked about bodies, skin, our culture, and how it views women's bodies. So Instagram I shared a lot of these photos, and I guess it was a natural reaction. I'm not surprised by kind of the backlash that I got from that, because a lot of men still, of course, a lot of our society associates women's skin and women's nipples as something that's inherently sexual. So Tio's response is actually kind of necessary, although as a woman, individual woman, that's really difficult to deal with, because I have been harassed. I've gotten all these like very degrading comments, private messages. So Tio, of course, is very challenging to deal with, but I guess to challenge people's thinking, that is the outcry you receive. And that's kind of natural because our society is all structured around that, that women's bodies are inherently sexual. So Tio would say, malai dherai huncha. Tara, I'm managing it well. Yeah, a lot of people ask me how I deal with it because I think they're like, you must get so many messages. Maybe after I say this publicly, I'll get more. I just block and I just ignore. Some messages are definitely harsher than the others, and those kind of stick with me for a while because they're so degrading or violent in nature. So Tiote stays with me, but also gives me a lot to think about and reflect about what is it that needs to be addressed, you know? What is it that misogynists or people who are anti-feminist are really like angry about, and how can we, I don't know, address that anger, manuna? But yeah, usually I just block people, accounts, because I just don't think it's an effective use of my time to argue with every single person who doesn't agree with me. And that doesn't just have to be trolls, okay? Because some people kind of have these elaborate, weird arguments, you know? Until I just going to educate them from scratch, I just don't think that's my job. And there are people who take on that exhausting task, you know, of educating everyone. But I've decided that my energy is better utilized elsewhere. And I'm not going to deal with that. I think art and creativity is a very powerful medium to convey activism. I think they go really well hand in hand. And yeah, I've used it a lot, I think, in the photos that I share. I also write poetry from time to time. Most of what I write is kind of mini essays and narratives. But photos, I mean, people say, right, like a picture is worth 1,000 words. So the photo materials, anywhere, I was very involved in this Free the Nipple campaign for a while. So I was sharing a lot of censored photos of myself, because Instagram does not allow female nipples, to talk about that. So photo it makes them think. I think it challenges their thinking. And I just think, yeah, art is a very powerful medium to communicate our messages. So Free the Nipple movement started in Western countries. Then it like blew up a lot, because social media does not censor male nipples, but it censors female nipples. And data creators and activists or work is also taken down, or their whole page is shut down because they're trying to challenge this. And that comes down to, again, the sexualization of women's bodies. So, and challenging the thinking that nipples are inherently sexual, because they're not. And if a man can show his nipple on the internet, why can women not? So a lot of women, I think, around the world tried to challenge that through protests as well, through physical protests, protesting on social media. But unfortunately, that guideline has still not been changed, and oile pani women's nipples are censored. So of course I cannot speak for the entire queer community. That's very, just like I cannot speak for all feminists, but I am a queer woman, and I think how these initiatives like Shri the Kranti and Feminist Futures Nepal can be more queer inclusive is just having, one, I think, more queer people on the team. It always starts from inside the change. The queer perspective also, right, in the development or conceptualization of programs or campaigns. So I think having queer people on the team, trying to bring queer perspectives whenever possible. So whether it's about making short videos, having kind of myth-busting things, and also just whenever we think of sexual and reproductive health, we always think of heterosexual sex. But whenever we hear about this, it's always about sex between a man and a woman, penis and vagina. So to break out of that mold and be like, see beyond that heteronormative perspective, I think is very important. And yeah, recognize that sex, maneko, is not just penis and vagina. There's such a spectrum of sexual experiences. So to kind of delve into that. Some of the barriers I see to sexual and reproductive health education in Nepal are that, first, there's so much stigma still around, especially women talking about it boldly, saying that consent is important, that our pleasure should be prioritized as well, that sex is not just about having a penis in a vagina. So it's still so taboo and stigmatized, and I think a lot of women face backlash for talking about it. So that's a big challenge. I think the other thing is that schools kind of refusing to address sexual health education at all. Is something I see all around the world, actually, because even in Western countries, it's very, very narrow. A lot of people are also teaching. Can you answer this slide? abstinence. A lot of people are also still teaching abstinence and saying, just refusing to admit that young people have sexual needs and desires, and how we can navigate that in a healthy, consensual way. And I think the other challenge is that the type of advocacy that's suitable for different populations and different groups of young people in Nepal can be very different. Okay? So we need to be sensitive to that and aware of what is appropriate. So I think initiatives like Shida Kranti, Feminist Futures Nepal, the work that I do is very suitable and in tune with the needs of young women mainly living in Kathmandu or other urban cities. Tara, if we go to a completely different place in a rural area, then कसरी advocacy गर्ने sexual health is very different as well. Okay, so I think we need to be sensitive, and aware of what is appropriate when talking to young people in different environments. One thing that I've thought about recently is that so many young people or young feminists don't know about the history of feminist movement in Nepal, because so many women have come to feminism through social media, and it is still not this historical time. Let's say that's in the last 10 years or something that it's really blown up. But women have been fighting so hard in Nepal, right, for our rights. And the movement goes a lot deeper. So I think the education and knowing the history is a very important thing. And I think part of that is about this intergenerational connection between feminists. So finding a way where a feminist who's 16 can hear from the experiences of a feminist who's 80 years old, because we can learn so much. Okay? The fight is not new, and there's already been so many challenges and solutions in the past. So rather than us feeling like we have to do everything from scratch, the intergenerational knowledge can really enhance our activism. I think one thing that for me I find missing is solidarity and collaboration. So there's so many initiatives in Nepal related to feminism. I know whether that's about legal advocacy, politics, one-on-one support for women who are experiencing family violence, digital activism, sexual and reproductive health activism. So there are levels of artists as well, feminist artists. So it's hard that collaboration or even communication, I think, is really missing. If we were able to create a network of sorts, right, like feminists in Kathmandu or Nepalko network, I think that would be great. Something I read recently, which I really liked, was a movement needs to be going somewhere, and that I found really powerful, because where is feminist movement in Nepal going? And I don't know what the answer to that is. That if we could bring together a network of feminists working in very different fields, Nepal, I think that could be really incredible. I think it's a very, very exciting time to be in Kathmandu right now. I decided to move back to Nepal as this is one of the primary reasons, because I see how much passion that young women have to be involved in the feminist movement, drive it forward, and look at it from creative ways. So Shida Kranti and Feminist Futures Nepal, I think, are two of those initiatives, and I'm very supportive and appreciative of the work that they do. But yeah, I think it's a very exciting time. I think there's a lot of potential, and I guess my advice is first to see that feminist journey is very, very individual. I think one thing that brought me to feminism definitely was also seeing how much joint pain there is in our experiences. I know for a very long time, I think I felt very alone in the bad things that happened to me because I was a woman. And I thought it's just happening to me. I didn't feel that there was any space where I could talk about it or community who could relate to what I was going through. And then when I discovered feminism in my early 20s, I realized that it was not just happening to me, it's happening to women in various forms all around the world, and just because we're women. So that was a very powerful feeling of community and solidarity. But also everyone's journey in discovering, exploring feminism, becoming feminists is ekdamai individual. So we cannot expect that what works for that person in becoming an activist or vocal about issues is going to be the same for someone else, because each of us is also dealing with so many challenges, internalized misogyny, just our situations of our lives. Okay, so we cannot say to someone la maile yo garna sake yo age ma, you also have to do that, or you have to unlearn your privilege or challenge this straight away, you know, whether it's also about body image, because it's so easy to preach, but it's not easy to do. So I think it's very important for us to be patient with others as well as ourselves, and see that even baby steps is something that's very important, and not underestimate that. And yeah, keep going, because the fight, there's still a long way for women to achieve full liberation and equality. Even though we're in 2022 and people think, oh, women have so much more rights, you know? Or us as kind of urban upper class women in Nepal have a lot of rights, and we do, but there's also still such a long way to go. Okay, so maintain that energy, don't let yourself get burnt out easily, do what you can, and yeah, do your part, I think, to how you want to. Okay. So the F Project Nepal is a platform for digital storytelling. मलाई कस्तो नर्भस फिल भयो सबैजना यहाँ बस अनि आवाज निकाल्नु हुँदैन म चुपचाप बसेको है like especially 3 of you in a row यता हेरेर मलाई गाह्रो भयो हुन्छ यता उति हेरेर फोनहरु चलाउन ल